it really cuts into your cash flow. So you have to say, okay, what do you do? We have good fundamentals in all of our properties. So why would we sell if we have good fundamentals and we expect lower interest rates now as the Fed has started to pause, or we do have ways to refinance. So then kind of the other part of your question is, what are we seeing? If sellers aren't selling and buyers aren't buying, are we seeing that start to change?
Do you feel like sellers are finally starting to realize that, hey, values aren't here anymore that used to be? But they're also, those that can hold on are like, I can hold on, right? It's like at least in the single family world, it's like I have the 30-year lock. It's like the 30-year freeze. They're like, why would I sell my house when I have a 2.5 to 3% interest rate fixed? And I have to go buy it 6 or 7%. Like, it's crazy, right? I'd rather just stay in my house and not sell. But commercial real estate is completely different, right? Where they're typically locked for 3 to 5 years, 7 or 10 if you're really lucky. But most are, these rate caps are expiring, and now they're facing, negative arbitrage situations. So talk about, navigating all that.
Yeah. So it goes into, look, you want to have reasonable amounts of debt. You want to pay your debt down. You want to really start to build cash as well during this. Again, during this part of the real estate cycle, you can still get good deals. You can still get good cash flowing assets that are out there. And what we're seeing now, as you mentioned, is as the Fed is just driven rates higher faster than we've ever seen in history before. A lot of people with floating rate debt, and look, we have some of our properties with floating rate debt and some of those interest rate caps that you mentioned. It really cuts into your cash flow. So you have to say, okay, what do you do? We have good fundamentals in all of our properties. So why would we sell if we have good fundamentals and we expect lower interest rates now as the Fed has started to pause, or we do have ways to refinance. So then kind of the other part of your question is, what are we seeing? If sellers aren't selling and buyers aren't buying, are we seeing that start to change? So there's always sellers, there's always buyers in different parts. Right now, it's definitely it's hard to say if it's a buyer or a seller's market because there's not a lot of inventory, whether you're talking about residential or commercial. But one of the things we are seeing specifically in the mobile home space is, sellers that a couple of years ago were saying, hey, just give me cash, give me the money. I don't want to own or finance. They're saying, well, hey, Chris, we'll take a carry back at 6 or 7%. And when you're buying these properties at an effective 7-8% cap rate, and you can get, an interest only seller carryback loan at 6%. And sometimes they even delay payments or waive payments. Like we're working on a deal right now where there's no interest for the first year. Now you're back into that positive arbitrage situation, right, Brett, where you have a cap rate that's higher than those interest rates. So I think we are starting to see that. We're starting to see some sellers figure out like what the price of their properties are. So they're like, I want to sell it, and I'm just going to dig my heels in. The right buyer comes along, and nobody comes along. So we're definitely starting to see some of that open up. But it's definitely a much leaner market than it was from a deal perspective in the last few years.